Hello and welcome back to Paloma Valley. In the last episode, we added loads of new housing to Carlisle City, both suburban down by the river and high-rise in the city centre. We also added in a sports hall and gym and made a little cemetery park and filled in the area around the station with some pathways and trees. We also built a new industrial block on the piece of land where the first industry area was. It's full of unique factories, electricity sources and waste disposal. I tried to use as much of this space as possible by going right up to the highway and going around the base of this hill, and it seems to be doing fairly well so far. They're not struggling for raw materials and their output looks pretty good. We also got to level 5 in the oil industry area. Still only one road because the assets are all really small, but it's giving us a lot of profit and the raw materials are either being exported or sent over to the unique factories. One thing we really struggled with over the last couple of episodes is keeping the campus area at a consistent level. It's been fluctuating between level 2 and level 3 for quite a while, and we're really struggling to keep enough students there to stay at the current milestone, so progression has been really hard. But we're about 2/3 of the way through the academic year right now, and not to jinx anything, but we do currently meet all the criteria for level 4. So if we can keep it there until the end of the academic year, then maybe there might be a chance we might get to level 4 in this episode. In this episode, I'd like to do something that I've been meaning to do for quite a long time, and that is to get onto this piece of land over here beyond this river on the seafront. This land is going to be great for starting a new district, and I want to fill it with lots of tourism stuff, but we are going to struggle for road connections. There is a train line that runs through here, but obviously not everyone will come via train, so we do need a road connection at some point that's not feeding everything down through here. I am considering buying a new tile today just to get that second highway connection, and the one that I'm considering getting is this tile here. You can't see the boundaries because I'm in the cinematic camera, but it would give us access to this piece of land that basically runs just below this train track here. We could put a highway interchange in here and we could pull the road down through and over the train tracks so that we have a second point of access for car traffic. Car traffic running through Castlemead isn't actually that bad at the moment. At one point this boulevard was really bad, but I did some adjustments with some of the intersections and changed some of the traffic lights and the lane rules so that the traffic flows a bit better, and honestly I think it has made a big difference. Even to this roundabout up here that was at one point so backed up that nothing could move, and it's the first intersection that cars will get to when they come off of the highway, it's really not that bad at all. But where it is pretty bad is through the centre of Loca Heights, with all of the traffic trying to get to Strawberry Flats. This boulevard is usually lined with cars that run nose to tail all the way up to here, and unfortunately there is usually a long wait to get into Strawberry Flats. So having a second highway point will be really handy for multiple reasons. So like I mentioned in the intro, Castlemead University does currently meet all the criteria needed for level 4, and we're very close to the end of the academic year now. So while we wait for the end of the year to see whether we hit level 4 or not, I'm actually going to add a highway connection for this industry area. Now it's just going to be an off-ramp that goes up to the highway, but I'm going to make it so that only industrial vehicles can use it. So hopefully that should mean there are less trucks leaving via this direction if they're just exporting goods. So we're going to have to move all of this stuff along a bit so that we can get to this corner. And now let's grab a highway ramp, stick it onto this corner here and just kind of curve it onto this highway. And then let's do some lane rules here. By holding shift you can do the whole road, and then I can take off private vehicles, public transport and taxis. We don't have any taxis yet, but if I do put them in at some point, I don't want to forget to come back and ban them. So I think I'd be happy with emergency response vehicles, waste disposal and trucks using this road. Obviously they can only go in this direction, but earlier on when I was doing a quick check over the city, I noticed that some of the oil assets were having issues with crime. They had a police car coming over to patrol, but the police car was coming from all the way back here somewhere, and it meant fighting up this boulevard, around the roundabout, and then all the way down the highway. So hopefully, by putting in this slip road here, it will mean that the emergency response vehicles can get up here quicker, because they'll just need to get onto the highway here, and then they can come straight off here, and they're practically there. Hopefully this little slip road will help with traffic flow. So we're 1 week away from the end of the academic year, and I have got everything crossed that we don't have a mass cull of students again like we did last time. But I think with having over 100 more students than we need, we should be alright to hit that goal. And there we go, we finally did it. We are up at level 4 for our campus area. We probably won't stay here for very long, we'll probably dip straight back under, but it means that we can add some new stuff for the first time in quite a while. So let's have a look at what we've just unlocked. So we now have an auditorium, plus some labs and a bookstore. It's not too many new things, but they're fairly large assets by the looks of it, so let's see which one is the biggest and add that in first. The bookstore is about a block wide, the lab is bigger than that, and then the auditorium is long. So let's add in the labs first because they seem like they're the biggest. I think I'm going to add the new things down here because this area is fairly empty so far. So let's think about maybe adding the labs in this center part here. That's a cool looking building. I love that tunnel across there. I think for now, maybe I will add the bookstore up here just because there's a gap big enough for it. And I am going to move stuff around later on once I've got everything unlocked. And then the last one is the auditorium. Now this one could probably just go down here as well. It's not like we're having any traffic issues down here. So maybe for now, I'll just stick that one next to the lab. And like I said, we'll do some rearranging later on. Okay, so even though we've just added 3 new buildings in, our attractiveness is way off of where it would need to be to get to level 5. It's going to be quite difficult to get to 1800 attractiveness points because these assets are quite big, and it probably means that I'm going to have to put duplicates of some things in, which I don't really want to do. I don't want to just keep putting the same park down over and over again, but I guess we can tackle that problem later on once these 2 criteria get up a bit higher. But I'm really happy we've got to level 4. It's been a long time coming, but we finally made it. While I'm over here, I'm going to reduce the size of this car park. I thought this would be getting a lot more use because there were so many people visiting this district, but as you can see, there's only 4 cars in here. So I'm going to remove this car park and add in some attractions instead so that it adds to the attraction points for these 2 hotels. Obviously, these hotels need sightseeing locations. The 2 things that count towards the sightseeing popularity is parks and unique buildings. So I think I might add a unique building down here because the closest one is miles away and I'd really like to give people more reason to come down here. I think I'm going to add in a unique building of some sort. I've decided to go with the Theatre of Wonders unique building. It's a pretty spectacular looking building, and down here it's not going to matter too much about the noise pollution that it causes because the closest houses are quite far away. And I think this location is pretty cool out on the river. It's a perfect location for tourists staying in the hotels. So now I need to pick something to put in beside it. There we go, there's people starting to use it already. I've connected the pathway up to the seawall and to this side of the theatre. I also added in this little sidewalk cafe behind the hotel because the hotel has a gap in the fence and it looks like you can get from one place to the other, and the pathway out the back automatically connected up to the quay. Unfortunately, it's created a little bit of a bump here, so I may need to pull the quay backwards to cover it up, otherwise it's going to be really obvious. Yeah, that's not as bad as it was before, it's much less noticeable now. And the pathway still connects up, so that's good. Looks like there's lots of people coming to the theatre already, so hopefully that will draw in some more tourists to this area. And it's maxed out the sightseeing quota, which is really good. The only thing we're lacking now is offices. So maybe what I'll do is I'll remove these 2 buildings here and put in some offices instead. Because I wasn't as in love with these as I was the rest. They don't have as much detailing on them. So maybe that's what I will do. I might be able to find some assets that are fairly long and thin so that we can get as many into this space as possible. I know I said I was going to go for small buildings. These are my favourite office assets and they look pretty nice from the back. They don't have any ugly dumpsters or huge billboards on them or anything, so I stuck 3 in down here. One of them technically isn't connected to the road, but it's not complaining about anything yet. And it's almost maxed out the business popularity rating. Hopefully that will have helped our overall rating because it was fairly low last time I looked. Yeah, we're 1% away from the level up requirement and quite a lot of money off. We're about halfway to the weekly profit needed to get to level 4, so that's going to be pretty difficult. But some of these hotels aren't very highly rated at all, especially this one. Let's see which one this one is. Okay, so this is the one we put in the last episode. It's only got a popularity rating of 54% and it's running at a loss. I mean, the stats for this aren't that bad, but the popularity rating is still pretty bad. And I'm really surprised about this because there's loads of offices down on this row, but maybe we need to remove some of the commercial buildings and change them into offices, especially now that I've got more office assets. So these 4 buildings here are commercial buildings. So I think what I'll do, because they're the closest ones to the hotel, I'm going to remove these and add in some offices instead. If you're watching my Calathea series, you would have seen the huge capital city build that I uploaded the other day. I used a lot of these skyscraper buildings in it. It took me 9 hours to complete and it's the longest build I've ever done. But that practice has come in handy for right now because I need to find nice looking assets that aren't too tall to put in this section. Okay, that looks all right. I'm not too mad about that. It still looks all right from the train as well. Got interesting backs to them. So let's see what that's done to the popularity rating now. Okay, it's boosted it a little bit. We're now making a profit. The shopping rating has gone down, I think, because I removed those commercial buildings. But this hotel isn't really in the best place in this city for all of the different things that it needs. I really didn't think about hotels when I was building it. I just kind of needed to get people in. So I think that'll be alright for now. Oh, it's gone back down to making a loss again. How can I keep this making a profit? I'm going to try putting the price per night down ever so slightly in the hopes that that will encourage more people in. And we may be making a slight loss on each individual person, but we might start making a profit overall. Yeah, see, that weekly profit has gone up already. It's fluctuating quite a bit, but if I put it on 3 times speed, yeah, we're into the positive there. So we've lost out on a small amount of money per night per person, but overall we've just got more guests and we're now making a lot of profit a week. It's a delicate balance, but I think we've found it. So are any of the other ones doing really badly? 40%, which one's this one? Yeah, I'm not surprised about that rating at all. It's not got any commercial or offices around it. It's kind of just on the edge of this district, and I just put it down so we could get to the next level. So, I mean, it's not making a loss, it's bringing a small amount of money in each week, so maybe I'll need to reduce that down as well and encourage more people to stay here. I'll do that for these ones as well and bring that money down a little bit, and hopefully we'll get a tiny bit more profit from that. So just by reducing the weekly cost on 4 hotels by £2 a night, we've just made £2,000 in weekly profit. It's crazy that such a small change can make such a huge difference. So we'll let that sit for a minute and even itself out. And obviously I'm going to come onto hotels again once we get to the other side of the river. So before I can move on to the new piece of land over the river, I need to get the residential demand up a little bit. At the moment, the highest demand is industry and then commercial, with absolutely no demand for residential at all. So I'm going to work on the industrial demand a little bit and see if that raises the need for housing. I'm thinking of adding some more generic industry to the Unique Factories block over here, and I'm also thinking of adding some more to the Carlisle City industry block as well. Because we have so many people living in Carlisle City at the moment, anyone who works in industry is going to be travelling quite a long way to get to their job. So if I can give them a little bit more industry over here, hopefully it will reduce the demand and the distance they have to travel. So I'm going to start with the Unique Factories block. There are lots of really small generic industrial assets that I can add to here. So I think I might continue this road down and add some more 2x2 blocks on this road. I'm not going to add one on this corner because then trucks will be stopping right close to an intersection. So I'm going to leave that bit empty and fill it in with a concrete painter. I don't want to put anything in this middle section just in case there's a unique factory that I want to put in there. So I think I might put some more industrial buildings down here. May need to sort out the terrain a little bit first though, because it is going up into the hills there. So let's just smooth that out a tiny bit so we can add some stuff back here. So a small amount of industrial there. I think I'm going to also add these containers to either side of the cargo station because they look like they're part of the station, but they're actually industrial workplaces. It might add to the traffic on this road a little bit, but I'm not too fussed about that because it's really not that bad at the moment. Uh-oh, we're having water problems again. Looks like I've just tipped them over the edge with the water and sewage. So I really don't want to add any more water pumps down here. There's not going to be enough room and probably going to start affecting the houses around it. So what else can we do? Could move the water pumps down here. They're not going to be anywhere near the sewage. So yeah, let's do that. Let's move the water pumps to down by the farming instead. Now that this has been removed, I can remove all of these pipes here. I can finally connect this key up, zone in the houses around there because it's been empty for way too long. When it comes to sewage, I don't want to add any more down here because there's already 6 sewage pumps. Once we get to 30,000, we're going to have access to the eco water treatment plant and we're not going to need to worry about having all of these polluting pumps on the river, and we can add it somewhere where it's not going to matter too much. So I'm wondering if I can hold off maybe until we get to 30,000 before adding any more sewage pumps. It also looks like they're starting to have electricity problems as well, which isn't good. I guess we've just added in some more industry, so they're starting to have a lot of issues. I did break the grid between Castlemead and Carlisle City, and maybe I need to join them back up again. I really don't like having pylons going across the water like this, but the river is just wide enough that it doesn't connect the grid across that space. Okay, that's fixed all of the electricity problems, that's good. We're still teetering on the edge though, so I am going to need to put in some more electricity sources at some point. But I did download these nicer solar parking lots. They don't produce too much power, but I might dot a few of these in some of the districts just to give them a little bit of a boost. We don't really have any parking at the moment in Loca Heights, so I may add a couple of these parking lots in, possibly down by the school. People can come and park their cars here and it will produce a little bit of electricity. That actually gave them quite a decent boost there. I'm going to see if I can add any into Queen's Meadow. Now this district is quite busy already and there's not really many spaces that you can put things. I was thinking of putting some on this road, but private vehicles can't go down here, so there's not really much point in doing that. I'll add some here near the entrance to Queen's Meadow. There's probably going to be no need to actually park down here, but it's going to give the grid a little bit of a boost and it fills that gap up as well with something that's not houses. So back to industry. I may add some forestry assets down here. That's a decent amount more industry in this area now. And let's go over to Carlisle City and add some more over here. Now this car park again is way too big for what it needs to be, so let's remove it and add in something much smaller. What I'll do is I'll continue the road down this way. I'll put in a small car park that runs along the road, and then another road that runs alongside it with some industry buildings. Maybe one of the nicer industrial buildings and then a few smaller offices. There we go, that looks all right. And now there's a few more industrial and offices down here for people to work in. Uh-oh, they are having sewage issues now. Oh, I really hope that I could avoid this. We're really close to 30,000. But if I don't put any more in, they are going to start leaving. So can I fit any more on the end of this tile? I guess I could put that one there with Anarchy on, it doesn't really matter. I am going to bulldoze all of those eventually and put some eco ones on instead, but I can't risk losing people at this point when I'm so close to 30,000. Adding in these new industrial buildings and offices hasn't really done that much to the demand. It's still really high and our residential demand is still at 0. So maybe it wants me to build another industrial area, but it's pretty densely packed on this map so far and there aren't really any pockets of natural resources left that we haven't already built on. So I'm not really sure what to do. Maybe I'll keep adding small generic industrial buildings to this block and see if that helps at all. So I've been working on this industry demand for about an hour off camera, and I just cannot get it to go down. No matter how many industry buildings and offices I put in and new assets into existing industrial areas, I just cannot get that demand to go down. We have a tiny amount of residential demand now, but the industrial is still the highest. So I think I'm just going to have to go for it and start building across the river and try and fit some industrial or offices in here somewhere. So we have quite a large piece of land to be working with, and like I mentioned earlier, I think I'm going to buy this tile here so we can get another highway access point, and then we'll also have more of this piece of land to be working with. I like to do some stuff on the beach and put some hotels and lots of touristy stuff in, as well as another train station for international trains. So I'm going to do a bit of a roadmap and figure out exactly what I want to do with this land. I know that I've had quite a few episodes to think about this, but I actually don't know whether I want to raise the tracks or not. Probably should have thought about this sooner, and I guess the type of train station that we pick is going to decide for me. But I've kind of got to this point with the road and hit a bit of a block really, because I don't really know whether I want to put the road above or below. Let's have a look at the train stations to figure out which one I want to do. I like the old market station, that's one of my personal favourites, and you can actually get into it from both sides of the station if you connect up a pathway, but it might be a little bit too old-fashioned for this area. So this train station from the workshop is a modular piece where you can put multiple together. You can kind of create multiple lines going through that look like one big station, but it's actually lots of smaller ones. And it also has a metro line running underground, but it's not quite as grand as I'd want it to be. Now this train station is the complete other end of the spectrum, and it is probably the most elaborate train station I've ever seen. This is a 6-track station and the line is actually underground, so that might decide for me whether I want the tracks to be above or below ground. I think I'm going to go with the fanciest station that we have and go for the one where the tracks go underground. So this kind of runs alongside the road there, so I reckon the best place would be to put it across here. So let's put a road going out this way, and I'll remove this part of the track in the middle because it's going to need to go underground anyway. And let's put this station in. Amazing detailing, and it looks really good sitting out on the waterfront because it kind of looks like waves. The terrain's a little bit unusual under there, but I'm going to ignore it for now. I'm not sure if it's meant to be like that, but it is. So I'm just going to get rid of all of these trees. I wonder if I can connect this road up to here. That looks pretty cool. Now people can drive straight through the middle of that station. That's really cool. Obviously they're going to need water and electricity, but we can deal with that in a minute because no one's going to be coming down here yet anyway. So let's join this line up. We're obviously going to need to go underground for this. I'm trying to understand what all of these lanes mean because it's a little bit confusing. Let's connect it up to there, and then obviously we need to connect it up the other end, but we need to pick the right track to do this. Which one is this? Oh my god. Okay, so that goes underground and then through there. Oh, this is a nightmare. I think I've chosen the wrong one. Is this it? I think this is the right track. I've never actually used this station before, so I probably should have checked it or tried it out somewhere prior to this. Obviously there's not really any reason for any trains to come down here yet, so let's give them some attractions so that they've at least got something drawing them down here. I think I'm just going to stick a unique building outside this station so it's really easy access for tourists. I'm kind of tempted to go with the Mall of Marvels because it's so big and we've got loads of empty space here. I'm not really going to find many other places to put it, especially not that are going to be so tourist heavy. So maybe I will stick this massive mall in the middle here. I think that's the front that way. And then the tourists that come here can go straight to this mall. When it comes to the name for this district, I've had a couple of suggestions, and of course they're along the vampire theme. But this district is all about glamour and opulence and overconsumption. So I think I'm going to use the name Gilda in here somewhere. It was a name suggested to me from a vampire novel, and it makes me think of Gilded. And the Gilded Age was that era of progression and opulence, and also the growth of the railroad system in America. So it's kind of perfect that we have such a huge, glamorous rail station here. So I'm going to name this district Gilded Beach. Also, the mall and the station have very similar wavy elements to them, so I think this is off to a perfect start so far. But we need to get people down here because so far there's only been 5 tourists and I want a lot more than 5. I think I'm going to do a little road out the side here and then have a parking lot on either side. I'm going to use one of these long parking zones and put one on either side of this road. They're so decorative, you don't even really notice that they're car parks. Looks like there's quite a few people coming down here now. Some people even seem to be coming down on foot, which is crazy. Actually, quite a lot of people are coming down on foot. Maybe I need to get some more public transport in so that they're not all walking down. So let's connect this up to the metro system. Let's think about the metro line and where it's going to go when it gets down here. So the station in Gilded Beach is going to need at least 2 lines in it. It's going to need one to come down from Strawberry Flats, and then it's going to need a perpendicular one to get to everywhere else on this piece of land. I've got loads of those stations with multiple lines running through, but they're not very interesting on the surface. And maybe I should go with the Plaza station because, to be honest, I don't really know where else I would use it on this map, because this area is going to be really built up, almost like that capital city build I just did in Calathea. But the lines aren't going to go any further this way because this is all hills here. So maybe this is the right place to use that Plaza station. There we go. Hopefully people will now be coming here via metro instead of walking or bringing the car. Oh no, the mall's on fire. I didn't put any fire or police service down here yet and the mall's just set on fire. That's only been in for like 10 minutes and it's already set itself on fire. That's not good. Okay, I need to put some services down here, otherwise that's just going to happen again and this area is just going to keep destroying itself. So let's put in a fire station. Doesn't need to be very big and we can just put it on the main road for now. And let's also do police because they've got some crime issues. Hopefully that shouldn't happen again, but I can't believe that. What are the chances of the mall setting on fire this soon? So it looks like we still haven't had any trains come into the station yet. And I'm hoping that it's just because they're taking a while to populate, not because I've done the tracks wrong. I'm going to do a little bit more building in this district and put some houses in. I think I'm going to go with some high-rise houses. I'm going to try and keep it to a kind of medium level. And I'm going to put them mainly back here near the river. Oh my god, we finally hit capital city status. Oh, this is so good. I get a new tile to buy and I get the eco water treatment plant. Those are the 2 things that I've wanted for a really long time and we finally got them. So these houses will have definitely just helped to hit that milestone. I went with Art Deco themed buildings to kind of match that gilded, opulent kind of vibe. And I made these little colourful blocks. They're kind of pastel and cute. This is just the start of quite a large residential piece that's going to be on this side. So I've just tried to get this train station to work, but I think the asset might actually be broken because I can no longer even find the page for it on the workshop. So I'm going to remove it and replace it with a different one. Okay, so this station here isn't anywhere near as glamorous as the old one, but I want to do a bit of detailing around it to make it look larger than it actually is. Still pretty detailed with different levels, a staircase going down into it, and these little open parts where you can see the trains coming in underneath. I'm thinking of doing some sort of larger plaza around it with maybe a few market stalls, some parks and some restaurants, but I'm not going to get into that in today's episode because I just spent the last hour looking for a train station that was going to work because I couldn't get any of them to work properly. So I think this is a good place to leave today's episode. I'm glad that we were able to finally break ground over here, and I'm hoping that this district is going to help boost the population even more and we'll be able to do a lot more fun things. I love this mall asset and I think it goes perfectly with the kind of vibe that I want to do for this district, and it's getting a lot of use. There's a lot of people coming over here already, lots of people walking about even though there isn't that much to do in this district yet. And the tube station's getting a fair amount of use as well. I'm glad to see that people are coming over here on public transport rather than just bringing cars. I'm going to be extending this residential area out more as we go on, and I want to keep this kind of pastel art deco theme. And believe it or not, all of these houses are vanilla assets. All of the houses so far are from either the art deco pack or they're just regular base game houses. And you'd be surprised how many nice houses there are along this theme in the catalogue when you spend hours searching through for ones in the right theme for a city build. At the very beginning of this episode, I put in a slip road from this industrial block onto the highway. It's getting a little bit of use, but a lot of the vehicles from this area go to other parts of Paloma Valley with their goods rather than exporting them, and a lot of the exports happen via train. So I think a lot of the vehicles that use this road take stuff straight down to the other industrial area down here, which I'm not too mad about. It's taking cars off the roads down here, so I'm happy to see that it's getting a little bit of use. I added a load more industrial stuff into this area because they were really demanding industrial zoning, and it's still not enough somehow. The industrial demand is still the highest, and I don't really know how to get it down again because I must have added probably close to 60 or 70 industrial assets in various places over the map, and they're still wanting more. But now that we've moved on to a new area, I'm going to build an industrial zone over there, so hopefully that will fix that problem. I added a few industrial pieces and some offices over here by changing this car park and lining some down the back. And I also swapped out a few of these buildings from commercial to offices to help out this hotel over here because it was in the negative and now is making a positive weekly income. I didn't mention this earlier, but I built a small office block in Swan Square. It's got some of my favourite vanilla office assets, as well as some pastel coloured ones down the back to match the commercial in this district. I also put a couple down here just to fill in this gap, and I was really just trying to find any area that I could put offices in because they needed industrial so bad. I also didn't mention the expansion onto this industrial park. I added some new offices down this end, and I took out the car park here and added in some industrial buildings, and I also added in some more tiny industrial ones down here. For some reason, I thought that adding car parks everywhere was necessary because in my other games, they always get filled up straight away. I'm not sure why they don't in this one. I don't know whether it's because more people are using public transport or the car parks within the assets are being used first. But pretty much all of the large car parks that I've put into this city so far have been removed in this episode and turned into other things. The most exciting thing about this episode was the fact that we finally got to level 4 in the campus area. It didn't unlock too much. There's only 3 new assets that we've got and they've all been added in various places. I think it's going to be really difficult to get to level 5 because we need to pretty much double the student population and get the campus attractiveness up to 1800 from about 1000, and that is going to be really hard because we have at least one of every asset in here already. Some things we have 2, and as we know from when I first started building this campus area, it's only campus assets that count towards the attraction point, so I can't just go in and add a bunch of parks, unfortunately. Over here I added the Theatre Unique building and a few offices to help out with the demands for the hotel, because these 2 hotels were making a loss and they weren't very popular because they were so far away from everything. So I removed the car park down here, turned it into a little bit of a park, and these hotels are now pretty much at 100% popularity, which is really great. In the next episode I'm going to be doing more in Gilded Beach. There's obviously a lot of space to be packing out, and there's a lot of things that I want to do in this district we haven't done in other places so far, and there's plenty of room for housing as well. Thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. I'm really happy that we finally got over to this side of the river, and I know it's been a long time coming, but I don't like to rush these games because I always end up doing something wrong and regretting it if I try and go too fast. Make sure to check out my Calathea series if you haven't already. I did a huge capital city build the other day, and the last episode was building a golf course resort on an island. Thanks as always for all of the likes and comments, and I want to give special thanks to the handful of people who comment on every single video. It makes me so happy to know that you're enjoying watching these, and it's the exact reason why I started doing them in the first place. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.